My name is Marcell Hanson, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in. I heard something this week that has stuck with me. Cannot remember at this moment who heard it from, but it was something to the effect of, if you want success right now, apply intensity. If you want success long-term, apply consistency. And don't ever forego the latter for the former. It's important to understand that you really need both, because to be consistent with something takes time. While intensity allows you to push forward and produce results faster. I like to apply both. Fairly intense discipline, very structured in my day-to-day in some ways. I've spoken of this before. That structure allows me to be very fluid and embracing, very nimble out in the world where there are far more things beyond my immediate control. Now, I'm coming up on 30 years of what I deem my wellness journey when I started consciously making intentional moves toward my wellness. And I still practice that today. I've taught tens of thousands of people within businesses and several hundred one-on-one, my stable table. The 4 pillars of wellness, as I deem them, as adequate hydration, daily movement, nutritious meals, and quality sleep. Now, when I started talking about these 4 pillars of wellness, 25 years ago, YouTube was just in its inception, didn't have nearly the influx or the staggering amount of folks sharing their insight, their experience, their products, their services. It's just a night and day difference. Though while all of that information sharing was developing online, I maintained a very structured wellness protocol behind the scenes. I think in the last 5 years or so, after decades of tracking, I'm constantly just the uniqueness of each of us. Yes, it's been said that we have more alike than we have different. But when I'm talking about uniqueness, I'm talking about this widespread myth that one size fits all. And this can be anywhere from units of vitamin D recommendation versus how many specific glasses of water to drink each day to how many steps one should obtain to maintain, healthiness or well-being. I guess we had to start somewhere, but it's beyond time to clarify that these are very much one-size-fits-all sort of recommendations, many of them biased by whatever product or service they're selling, if not through big pharma and big food, just wicked marketing at this point. I've always tried to stress and to share with folks part of my journey, but a lot of what I know to be true and what I implore others to seek out is answers for themselves. Because what I feel pretty convicted in is that my journey is very much my own, and your journey will look very different. And your journey will look different from your sisters, from your neighbors, from your coworkers, from your spouse. And the discovery of what makes you tick is first and foremost your discovery. It's no wonder that we struggle to communicate with various people, and sometimes lots of different people, sometimes the same person over and over again. If we do not know ourselves at a very intricate level, how would we expect we can communicate our needs and wants to someone else, given that they are not in the same place? No one is. It's impossible to be in the same place as someone else. So much history, so much mindset, so much perspective, so much goes into each and every experience that you've had, that I've had, that each of us has had. And I think the world would be a better place if people and individuals specifically could conduct themselves in a congruent manner and articulate truly what's going on for them. We'd just be in a better place. So today's reminder is just that if you are stuck and needing to get a shift in your life, you feel that you're missing out on the real fulfillment and depth of happiness that you could be experiencing, I say in all generalities to try on My Stable Table. It is as simple as the protocol as I'm about to share, and it's very different for each individual. But it is based on the 4 wellness pillars that are fairly undisputable at this time. There's been plenty of research, plenty of scientific white paper you can find on each of these 4 pillars now. Though beyond that, because that's not what I look to, I'm not looking for a scientific paper or some research study that was biased one way or the other to know what's right for me. I experiment and I research and I apply and I track and I tweak and I repeat that process. I'm inviting you to do the same. It's as simple as committing to your wellness, acknowledging and believing your worthiness, and applying some very simple daily practices to achieve monumental success. 30 years in, and I feel better than I ever have before. I'm more fulfilled. I have a better sense of what's going on for me, and I still remain nimble and open, flexible, because it changes all the time. With every season, with every daylight savings time, every year, it changes. And at this point, I have a pretty good foundation and knowing within myself that if I set my mind to something, I will achieve it if it's meant to be achieved. And that confidence has come from competence. I have put in the hours. I have done the research. I have conducted experiments. I have tracked them. I have tweaked my mileposts. I have adjusted what I wanted, and I have repeated that process so many times that I got a pretty good handle on what's going on for me. And I hope for all of you that you set out to obtain just that. A quick reminder of how we can set ourselves up for success with My Stable Table is, first and foremost, committing to it, as I've said, knowing that you are worthy, putting in consistent, intense, sometimes action, sometimes rest, but always intention. For hydration, if you are not sweating more than 20 minutes in the day, a general guideline of where you can start is half your body weight in ounces, and that's in pounds. Convert that to ounces, and that's how many ounces of the best possible filtered water that you can consume each and every day is. Are there tons of specifics to this? Yes. If you're pregnant, if you're working out excessively, if you have any other conditions, if you're taking pills or other herbs that are adjusting your hydration levels, what you're eating, how much sodium you're taking in. There are 100 different questions that if you want specifics on, I'm happy to help guide you one-on-one. Just need to send a questionnaire, an inquiry rather, into the texting community. It just comes directly to me, and I'm happy to steer you in a direction that, in my experience, may help you find the answers for yourself. I can be a resource for you. I'm not looking to receive payment for consultation. That's not what I'm plugging here. So for water, there's a few things. Yes, you can have it room temperature. That helps quite a bit. Start the day with a good 8 to 16 ounces, regardless of your weight. You want to avoid drinking water within an hour of eating, before or after. Pretty much be done consuming your water by the time you eat a fairly early supper later in the afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock. And that should set you up for the best level of success when it comes to hydration. When it comes to daily movement, there's lots influential factors. What you do throughout the day, whether you are working inside or outside, whether you're able to get up and move around quite a bit, is going to influence how this looks for you. But moving your body in a consistent manner every hour for at least, 4 or 5 minutes, that would be like a basis of trying to get in. Yes, you want to be walking 10 minutes outside in fresh air. That would be a bare minimum in my view, but maybe you don't have that at your disposal. So even flexing your muscles, rolling your wrists or your ankles, pivoting, adjusting yourself so you're not sitting stagnant in one position for very long. That's going to be great for the majority of people. Yes, there will always be influencing factors, whether or not you have any injuries at this time, whether you have any restrictions, possibly if you're pregnant, if you're overweight, there can be adjustments made, but you do want to be moving a fair amount throughout the day. And for some of us who move quite a bit, we want to be intentional about being restful, about taking mindful time and being still. So daily movement is not about constant movement. It's about consistent movement. Big difference. When it comes to nutritious meals, always the pinnacle would be that you're eating close. I think that people say the 100-mile diet or whatever, within a 100-mile radius of where you live, in season, as local as you can, as organic and non-GMO as you can. Avoid farmed fish and unethically raised beef, cattle, chicken, pork. If the slaughtering of pigs and chickens and, bison or moose or cow is done unethically and also done in such a way that really in an inhumane way, but that it's more than that because there's so much action that is inhumane that now is deemed as humane because humans do it. So basically, just to remember that whatever that animal, that creature of the planet is going through their entire upbringing, the way they were conceived, whether they were bred for what they were doing or not, how they were fed, whether they were separated from their mom after birth, all the way up to the time that they were killed, however that happened, everything they ate, everything they did, every experience they had, that cellularly is transferred to you when you ingest that food. So if you're eating farmed salmon or farmed steelhead, these fish are fed pellets. They're kept in a pen that is far, it's not even comparable to an ocean or a lake. It's far smaller than it should be. The fish are on top of one another. It's disgusting, to be honest. And there's probably a third of them that die in that pen and just lay at the bottom while the others slowly move around because they can't freely swim. It's really not that big of a pen. And I have been in these pens, so I speak from experience. Same with chickens. If chickens are not out, or ducks, not out free roaming, able to consume from an unrestrained area, that's passed on to you. So if they're climbing over one another, if they're being pumped full of hormones or pellet food or corn or heavy grain feed, they're on top of each other, they're unable to walk, and then they go off to slaughter in an inhumane way. Again, I just don't have a better word to describe it. You are consuming, ingesting all of that experience. And that's the same for milk. To be quite honest, a lot of dairy farms are pulling calves away from the mother. They're separated at birth, and off she goes to be milked so you or milk drinkers can consume that milk. There are hormones in that milk that, quite frankly, don't belong to you, and those have ramifications. So think about where your food is coming from and honestly, whether or not you want that in your body, and then make a decision for yourself. But most locally grown, certainly there's exceptions, like if it's not good, then go farther out. But as close to home as you can is going to get you the freshest, probably with the most nutrients, with the exception of soil depletion, which I can't speak to everyone's geographic location all at once. But do what you can. If you can grow your own food, if you can get it from local farmers that are a little more intentional with their harvests, then do that. And I think what's even more important that most people don't realize is it's not always just what you're eating, but it's also how you're eating it. Like for years when I was rearing a child and just busy, I ate standing up and I ate very fast. Most parents out there will understand. I think if you're on the go and you have a little toddler that's tugging at your leg or needs to be fed or needs to be brought somewhere or needs to, go somewhere, in my experience and the experience I share with many other parents, is that you eat faster. You learn to eat a lot faster. And it took several years to deconstruct that and realize that that actually wasn't very good for my digestive system. And so how you eat, the intention, the mood you're in, not having a TV on, not hitting dopamine hits, scrolling through social media, not being stressed, not being sad, kind of checking in with yourself and clearing that space before consuming, and then eating with quite intention at a slower pace than what most are used to. Chewing each bite 30 to 50 times. I think that it sounds like a lot, and it was for me. It was huge, lots of ingredients that got me to where I am today, eating at that pace, taking 20 minutes to eat a meal or 25 minutes to eat a meal that used to take me like 3 or 4. But if that were a guideline that people could learn to fall within, I think the obesity epidemic that exists now in North America would literally flip on its head, because when you eat slower, you allow your stomach, as it's getting fuller, to send signals back to say, hey, I think we've pretty much had enough. If you eat fast, those signals come after you're already stuffed, usually. So it's only common sense. It's just not commonly applied, but it is common sense that these things would be more beneficial for the masses. Of course, there are exceptions. And lastly, when we come to quality sleep, there's all kinds of misinformation out there about, how many hours or what time to go to bed. It's very individual, though in general, most women will experience a good night's sleep between 7 and 9 hours. Men are said to be closer to 7 to 8. But the amount of time, I think the one thing that I want to express that I've shared with people that most people just don't get is the amount of time that you're in bed is not the amount of time you sleep. And while this makes a lot of sense and is very sensible, a very logical statement, most people believe that they get 8 hours of sleep because they go to bed at 10 and they set their alarm for 6, as an example. It's just simply not the case. And if you had a biometric tracking device, whether it's a 8 Sleep or an Oura Ring or Whoop or a number of other tracking devices, you would know that you can go to bed at 10 and be very tired. Still takes you a few minutes to fall asleep. And then throughout the course of the night, as you're passing through different stages of sleep, you will have awake time along with light sleep and deeper sleep and REM sleep. You may not remember being awake. You may not get up and go to the washroom or anything. You could still be what you think is asleep. For all intents and purposes, within your metric readout, you are awake. And it's tracking, brain waves, if you will. It's essentially what it's trying to deduce. So having your room cooler, your body temperature dropping in the night actually allows you to get into a deeper rhythmic sleep. So wear socks if you don't like cold feet, but keep your room a little cooler, keep it darker, because that light is triggering to sensors in your skin and in your eyes that tell them that it may very well be daytime. So try and wind down a few hours before you sleep, eat a few hours before you sleep. These are just sensible guidelines towards getting your best night's sleep. And then for all of these, hydration, movement, meals, and sleep, track what works for you, how you feel, what you're doing differently. If you're going for a walk after dinner, if you're going for a walk or a sun salutation in the morning, track your moods, track your hydration, track how you're moving, what you're eating. Start with one, and once you have that under your belt and you feel like you got a good handle on it, go to the other. Everyone's going to be different on what works for them. Give yourself some grace, give it a go, see how your stable table firms up and how that structure supports you in doing all the other things in life that you want to do. Again, if you have any questions, you want to share a win, something that you've done, or if you really just want to connect, anything wellness, give a shout out to our free texting community. The number's 206-483-2960. Text the word yes, and those inquiries, feedback, whatever you send, all comes directly to me, and I'm happy to respond as time allows. I hope you got some gold, maybe some inspiration out of this week. If you did, I hope to see or hear from you in the coming weeks. We drop new episodes every week, Wednesday at midnight Pacific Standard Time, so please come back and bring a friend. Until then, stay strong and be awesome. Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community? If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword YES to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword YES to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.